I have a habit of checking the time before I start speaking, but I have a special clock. It has two functions. One tells you the time, and the other the exact location. By the way, this is the most advanced technology. The time that I get is an atomic time that is the most accurate time possible. Because when I look at the time, my clock is telling me now. The time is now. And when I take a look at the GPS, it tells me the place is here. And in essence, in a nutshell, that's what I've learned from my experience. To be present at the moment. To engage in every moment with intensity. To live every day as if it was the last day of my life. I was a kid, maybe 8 or 9 years old. I went to the market in Tel Aviv with my father. And on the way back, my father was carrying all the produce, so he had like a few baskets on one hand and a big watermelon under the other arm. And we were walking towards the car when a tourist stopped us to get some directions. He was lost. And my father was quite confused, didn't know what to do. Finally, he puts all the shopping bags on the floor. He handed over the watermelon to me. He looks at the tourist and said, "Look, I really don't know." I got a couple of degrees. My first degree is in Jewish philosophy, and then I did another degree in business administration. Most people tell me consistency. Business administration, Jewish philosophy, same thing. I left Israel at the age of 21 searching for my own adventure. You see, my strong belief is that we go and search for adventures, we climb mountains, we cross valleys and seas, but actually we're searching for ourselves. I arrived in a beautiful, beautiful place one morning. I was already a year with a backpack on my shoulders, and I arrived in a very precious place. The border of Peru and Bolivia in South America. This border is a lake that separates both countries. I was there early that morning because the ferry, after the market day, returns all the peasants back to the different islands in the lake. So once a week there's an opportunity to visit these unique communities that live deep inside the lake. And I was there on the docks, and finally I was led to the ferry by a child. I jump into the ferry and I see it's full of people already. 5, 6 backpackers and about 15, 20 peasants. A minute or two later, the boat leaves the docks, and here we're making our way into the mist, leaving the town behind. When suddenly there's a scream from behind, "Espera, wait!" And we turn around, and we see a backpacker, obviously his backpack protruding up and down his back, and he's running and he's screaming again, "Espera, wait!" And I feel we should go back for him. This is one of ours. And I look at the motorman, and I see that nobody else is concerned. Like the backpackers don't care, and the peasants, they don't want to go back for some gringo. So I just withdraw myself and I said, okay, I won't interfere either. And the guy one more time, espera, desperately, because that's the last ferry, and he missed it. And I look at the motorman, this very colorful Indian, and he's looking back and forth, back and forth. And that moment is crystal, because I can see exactly the work of destiny. This man was hesitating if to go back and forth. His decision will completely change the course of our lives. My life will be a different life. His life, the guy waiting on the docks, will end. He will die. One day in La Paz, I was walking in the market where I noticed that I'm followed by a man. Like, that's never happened to me. But every time I looked, I saw the same character. He was European, he was like in his early 40s. And everywhere I was, the man was also there. So finally I stopped and really challenged him with a direct stare, and he immediately ran over and introduced himself. He said he's an Austrian geologist. And as he started telling me about himself, the realization dawned on me. I came to South America to search for this man. Finally I found him. So I followed him. Marcus, another guy, Kevin, that we met, an American photographer that we met in La Paz, in the beginning tried to prevent me from joining this geologist, but in the process fell under his spell and decided to join as well. So the four of us, we left civilization and we started hiking into the uncharted. For 4 days we still, after landing in a remote area, for 4 days we were still walking amongst certain communities, but after 4 days we arrived at the last village. There's no more villages, there's no more trail. This is the uncharted. Sometimes I call fear, I call it my best friend, because fear always shows you the way. When fear rises, it shows you the way. And as the flickering light of the fire, I saw that under his mosquito net, Kevin's eyes were open. My eyes were open. Marcus was sitting there by the fire and crying, and we wouldn't get up. We wouldn't get up. And then the fire gradually died, and Marcus stayed there alone by the fire. And as the last ember died, the darkness came. And the darkness in the rainforest is like no darkness that you ever seen, because you can feel it. It's like somebody throwing a blanket of dark felt on your face. You can actually touch the darkness and you cannot see through it. It's so dark. You cannot see your fingers through it because the canopy swallows every light. There's no stars and there's no moon. There's only heavy darkness. A couple of days later, Marcus was injured as well. His feet were covered with some fungal infection from the constant moist, because we were walking without a trail. We needed to fight for each pace forward. Carl said, leave him behind with one of you. One of you stay with him, the other one will go with me, we'll make contact with the Indians. We're just only 2-3 days away. But it was mainly Kevin that convinced us that we cannot leave anybody behind. If we cannot keep on going and make contact with the Indians, we better turn our back. However, on the way back, we came to a big river, and that gave us an idea. Instead of walking all the 2 weeks back to the same village, why don't we build a raft and shoot this river all the way where it merges into the Beni River, one of the major rivers in the Amazon. So with that new excitement, we built a raft. The strange thing was that Carl was against us. He said, no, that's a grave mistake. Very soon we realized why. He couldn't swim. This omnipotent jungle guide couldn't even swim. And that caused the real trouble, because they started fighting over leadership. As I learned before, a real leader is one who makes more leaders. Carl wasn't a real leader. Carl couldn't even swim, but he wouldn't give up the leadership. And the two of them were like two wolves in a pack. They were at each other's throat. And that was our disaster, because they split us. Because when Carl would scream to the left and Kevin would scream to the right, we were trapped. And Marcus would beg us to listen to Carl. I kept maintaining my loyalty to Kevin, and we became two groups. Gradually, animosity, and then we even started speaking two different languages. They spoke German to each other, we spoke English, there was no more communication. 4 days later, Carl said, there's a big canyon and huge waterfalls. We cannot do that. Let's stop here and go back to the jungle and try and cut our way out. Kevin refused. He pulled me aside. He said, you know what, let them walk out. The two of us, we stay together on the raft. Let the two of them walk. All the problem we have are because of them. When Marcus heard that, he said, no way. We are three friends, we stick together. But we refused. We said, no, you walk with him. We made this decision. Marcus was so hurt. And as we split, He came to us and he said he loves us, he forgives us, he doesn't harbor any anger. He will pray for us every day. And when we get together in La Paz again, we'll be better friends than ever. Only that when they started climbing up the tributary was the last time they were seen. Carl and Marcus have disappeared forever. Kevin and I continued on that raft to find out that Carl wasn't lying. The canyon, and then the rapids, and then the waterfall. Sheer walls were building from both sides. There was nothing we could do. And then a huge rock, and then the crash. And the raft is caught above the waterfall, and we are, like hanging over a waterfall. Kevin is screaming. We have to push ourselves into the waterfall because there's no other way out. It's scary, but it's getting dark, and it's scarier to get stuck there for the night. But the raft, no matter what we do, the raft wouldn't budge. And then Kevin says, no choice. I'm going to try and make it to the bank, throw the machete after me, I'll cut some vines, I'll make a rope, and I pull you out. As he jumps towards the right bank, because he's such a big guy, he pushes the raft over. He jumps and he throws me into the waterfall. I fall with the raft into the waterfall. I'm swallowed by the current. When I'm finally popping back to the surface, I remember that because for a long, long time I was in the guts of that river, and the pressure on my chest, and for a split second I've opened my eyes and it's all dark, and the current, and I'm holding and holding. When it finally popped, I felt as if my lungs are coated with gold, how precious a breast can be. I lost Kevin, and I lost everything else. Half an hour later, the raft was already broken to pieces, all the equipment lost. And by a miracle only, I managed to get to the right bank. When I say by a miracle only, I mean it. There was no way to survive this canyon. For half an hour, going down rapids and waterfall, one after the other, bare body, nothing to protect me. The most minor injury, like a broken arm or a twisted ankle, would have killed me. Nothing. My life was preserved and protected by a force. For the first time in my life, I realized I went through a miracle. And the elevation and the acceleration. But then, a couple of minutes later, I realized my tragedy. I was lost, alone. I lost everything, all my friends, all my equipment. All I had left was shoes, pants, and a shirt. Nothing else. No food, no fire, no gun, no knife, nothing. And then the morning comes, and I have one hope. And I'm holding on to this hope. Kevin. I know that Kevin made it to the right bank. I've seen him on the right bank. I'm sure Kevin runs after me, and we'll meet now. So I'm going upriver to make it easier, so we'll meet. And I walk all day upriver, and I don't find Kevin.